Hey there, how's it going? Welcome to another edition of Old Head on the Porch. It's been a while, I think. I don't think I did one in November, or did I? Anyway, here is the December edition of Old Head on the Porch, the last of the year 2020. Thank God I think we're going to make it out alive. And it's been an interesting year. A lot of bad shit's happened. Some good shit has happened. But overall, it's been very challenging, I think, for a lot of people. For me, overall, even though it was a very weird year, I'd say it was pretty good, mostly because of all of you out there and me being able to do these videos and connect with people out there. And honestly, this is all going much better than I ever anticipated. So that's awesome. So thank you. So, of course, because all of you out there are so integral to the success of my channel and the shit that I do, we're going to do another Old Head on the Porch where I answer your questions. So if you don't follow me on some kind of social media or pay attention to kind of what goes on the YouTubes, then you probably missed me asking for questions. But I got some questions. I got some really good questions. So that's what I'm going to do today on this edition of Old Head on the Porch. I'm drinking an Internight Pilsner, which if you watched my video, I think that came out on Saturday night, you will know my thoughts on Internight Pilsner. So, no, I'm not answering any questions about that. So, let's just go ahead and jump into this. I have a list of questions that I wrote down. And really, when I went through these questions, I looked for questions that were not like things that I'd been asked before, that would be interesting for just me and the one person that asked them, that I think the audience would enjoy. And also, if any of you asked any questions that could be related to future videos or podcast episodes, I didn't touch those, so I apologize. But I got a lot of good ones. So, the first question that I am going to come to here is from Ed Nicod. Ed is in a band called Algebra, which, if you've been watching my channel for a while, I think I've talked about them quite a few times, but I also did a Bands You Should Know on Algebra. They are one of the best modern metal bands that I've heard. And Ed is a member of the Old Head Bangers Facebook group, so that is fucking awesome. That gives us super cred right out of the bat. Or right out of the gate. Damn, I always get those mixed up. It's right out of the gate or off the bat, right? Anyway, so Ed from Algebra answered on Instagram, or he asked his question on Instagram. Woo, hold on. And his question is, how's it going, dude? It's going great, thanks. What are your hopes for 2021? This is a good question to start on. So, really, with 2021, the big hope, which I think is a lot of people's big hope, is that the COVID-19 vaccines are effective and don't harm anyone, and everyone is able to get vaccinated. And very quickly, I hope we're all able to get back to some kind of normal life, or at least start working our way back as quickly as we can. Somebody, Raul over on YouTube, asked me about going out to concerts and needing to have proof that you took the vaccine, or needing a vaccine in order to go out to concerts and stuff, and would I do that? And I'm going to jump from Ed to Raul. I would absolutely do that. I'm already going to get vaccinated. I'm not going to do it right away, mostly because I think, like a lot of you, I'm concerned because I don't know anything about it and it's new. So I don't even buy the new iPhone right when it comes out. I wait a little bit for that shit. But as soon as I can, my family will be vaccinated, because that, to me, it's the right thing to do. Not just for yourselves, but for your fellow man, that you'll be around in public. And so if it's the sort of thing where you have to show some sort of proof to go to concerts or restaurants or clubs or whatever, I'm totally down with that. I'll do whatever needs to be done to make the planet safer. So there you go. Going back to Ed, though, for what are my hopes for 2021? I hope that there's new Algebra music. So I hope, because I think I read that there's a new lineup that you've gotten together, and I have high hopes because that last record was a fucking banger. And yeah, so other than that, I just hope that there is a lot of good music that comes out of 2020, which I think there will be. But I really hope that maybe it gave some artists kind of a different viewpoint of their lives and their careers, and maybe it will inspire some, I don't know, higher quality output from some bands, because there are some bands that I love, and then over the years they've just put out records that I think, oh, they're pretty good. But I don't want that. I want records that are going to be like, oh, this is fucking great, and I rush out to buy the vinyl. So I'm hoping that we get those. I hope that I have money problems because of all the great music that comes out in 2021. But we'll see. Today, as I'm recording this video, they announced a new split sort of EP with Vector and a band called Cryptosis, I think. And both of their tracks that they released sound fucking great, so I already pre-ordered that shit. So off to a good start, you know. So thanks, Ed, for the question. I usually have like things down below that like show the question, but that takes a whole lot of time. If you don't want to just hear me talk, you're in the wrong place. All right, next question comes from another favorite of mine, the Thrash Metal Ambassador. Hello, sir. He messaged me on Facebook through the Old Head Bangers Facebook group, and he asks a couple questions, and I let this guy get away with it. He says, what do you expect from thrash metal in the future? Now, this is very similar to a question that I've been asked before, but I really think that I kind of started my answer a few minutes ago. If thrash metal continues the way that it is now, with a lot of these younger bands and a lot of older bands kind of just going through the motions, thrash metal is going to kill itself. It's going to become null and void. People are going to lose interest, and it's just going to be a small niche of people that just want this one narrow view of thrash metal, and that's it. And therefore, nobody's going to give a shit, which is already happening to rock music. I mean, I think I saw somebody post something where Rolling Stone was talking about 2020 in music, and it talks about it had all these different kinds of music, but it didn't mention rock or metal at all. Maybe it did in the article, but in the headline, it didn't. And that's because it's not important, because it's not adventurous. It's a bunch of safe bullshit. And while some of it is kind of enjoyable, safe bullshit, that's all that it is. So I expect it to get better. I expect for thrash metal bands to stretch their legs out a little bit, try a couple new things, bring in some different influences that will make their sound stand out from the other thrash metal bands that are also doing the shit. That's all I ask for. Just like back in the old days. I feel like I've already answered that question before, but you know, anything for the thrash metal ambassador. And his second question is, would you love to see a collaboration between Dave Mustaine and Metallica on a new record, and why? I would be interested to hear it. I don't think I would necessarily be that thrilled about it. I'd have to hear it first. The idea of it makes me go, no, not really. But it would be interesting. Dave Mustaine's a very talented person, and Metallica is my favorite band of all time. I buy their fucking beer. So I'd be open to the idea, but I would also be very skeptical. And Thrash Metal Ambassador says, I have fans in Bolivia. Wow. If you're watching from Bolivia, greetings and cheers. So anyway, next up, James Stalker on Facebook, Old Head Bangers is the Facebook group. He asks, were you ever a fan of That Metal Show on VH1 Classic? He says, personally, I was a fan because I'm a younger fan of the classic bands, so it exposed me to bands I missed out on. I was a fan of that show, mostly because anything rock and metal related that looks at more than just the aggressive side is interesting to me, because a lot of the shit that I like is not, black metal and death metal. I like stuff on the, I guess you would say, softer side of metal. I don't know. I didn't really think that the comedy aspect from the two comedians was always that necessary. It almost seemed forced at times. And I think Eddie Trunk, while he's a very smart guy and very important to a lot of music, I think he leaves out a lot of really great metal with what he talks about. But once again, that's just a preference. If I hosted a show, there would be shit that I didn't really want to talk about that much either. So I enjoyed it, and I think it's very important for what you're saying, for younger metalheads getting into stuff. But I didn't really miss it when it was gone, but I did watch it when it was on. All right, Tyler Heath on Instagram asks, favorite metal band from Texas? I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to say Power Trip, especially with this year with the passing of Riley Gale and the fact that they put out 2 records that I still spin all the fucking time, and the collection of like B-sides and other stuff they put out is just as good. They were a metal band that made me proud to be from Texas. I'm not your average Texas kind of dude. I don't own boots. I don't wear burnt orange to support the Texas Longhorns, and I don't. Texas isn't a thing that I really give 2 shits about. I was just born here. So when something happens in a city that I live in, or the state that I live in, that makes me feel, oh shit, they're from where I'm from, it makes me very happy, which is rare to make me proud of where I live. So yes, Power Trip would be that band. There are other great bands from Texas, I realize that, but right now they're the one on the top for me. So, Jacob Miller over on Instagram asks, what's your opinion on the new Metallica album possibly releasing next year? You know me, I'm always going to answer Metallica questions, although I left a couple out, so this isn't just a Metallica video. I'm very excited to hear what they will do, because the past 2 albums I've loved. I loved Death Magnetic more than I loved Hardwired, but Hardwired is one that I still play and I still enjoy. So honestly, I think they have a lot of fuel left in the tank. And even if, here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to announce their new album, and it's going to be all acoustic reimaginings of their old songs. And I'm going to be super stoked about that. But all you're going to see is all these people, oh, fuck, you guys are sellouts, and I knew that you sucked, and it's only because Lars can't play drums anymore, and oh, I live in my mom's basement. So, I mean, that's what's going to happen. But if they release a full-on metal record, I'm going to be one of the first to pre-order whatever it is, probably before I even hear a lick of music, because that's how big of a fan I am. Okay. Dante over on Twitter, I actually got a Twitter comment. Holy shit, nobody goes there. Dante asks, your opinion on Metallica butchering Wood by Alice in Chains. My opinion is they didn't. They did a perfectly fine job. Is it anywhere near as good as the original? Nope. But I thought it was fine. And the one thing that I do know for sure is that Alice in Chains songs are really hard to cover. You listen to covers of Alice in Chains songs, and they're always like kind of not there, like, no. They just released an entire album of covers where other bands covered Dirt from beginning to end, and it's all shit to me. I mean, fine. I guess they're passable, but I don't know. The only person that can do Alice in Chains is Alice in Chains. What he's referring to is they did a thing for the Museum of Pop Culture in Seattle where they inducted Alice in Chains, and they did like a special YouTube thing, or I don't know if it was YouTube, wherever. I watched it on YouTube, where all these artists paid tribute and then did cover versions of Alice in Chains songs. So no, I thought Metallica was fine. My favorite performances from that were Fishbone doing Them Bones, and Mastodon, who did Again, pretty enjoyable covers. The worst one, in my opinion, was the cover of Man in the Box with Corey Taylor on vocals. That was awful. Anyway, I'm also not a fan, so there you go. So Dante, no, they did not butcher it. I thought it was fine. All right, next up, Shane Snyder on YouTube asked, are there any new hip-hop artists that you follow or like? First off, Shane, I love that you asked about hip-hop, so thank you. So just like with metal, it's few and far between with newer hip-hop artists that I get into. I think, like a lot of people, I do enjoy Run the Jewels. That's one of my favorites. Also, I think Kendrick Lamar is great. But beyond that, There's a few others. Anderson .Paak is great, but Anderson .Paak does more. He does some hip hop, but he also does R&B and soul type stuff too. It's more just like songs here and there that I hear that I like, and then usually I'll go to listen to the album, and the whole album doesn't grab me. Yeah, so that's really it. There's not a lot of newer stuff. I like the 80s and early to mid 90s hip hop. That's the shit that I listen to pretty much as often as I listen to metal. Okay, moving on. A question from somebody called Eddie Sparks on YouTube. Anyway, he asked, if you had to erase one of the big four thrash bands from history, who would you pick? All right. Get ready to push that thumbs down button, people, and to unsubscribe and to comment that I have no idea what I'm talking about and I'm a poser. If I had to pick one of those four bands, which I don't want to, but if I had to, gun to my head, Slayer is gone. Out of the four, they're the least interesting band to me. They did some great shit. I love that band, but out of the four, they're my least favorite. And so, bye Slayer, and bye to all of you that that can't get over a different opinion. Anyway, so moving on. Liam Early on YouTube asked, one singer that you wish was still alive. I have to pick one. I'd probably go for Kurt Cobain. I mostly just out of curiosity, because we never got to find out like where he would go musically. It could end up being a bad thing. Like if it was my power to bring him back to life and then he ends up making really shitty music down the line, everyone's going to be blaming me. And whatever, I'll take that chance. That guy was very influential to me, and I think he had more shit to do. He may have quit. I think I answered a question like this before. He may have quit music altogether and, become a writer or a painter. Who the fuck knows? But I kind of would have liked him to have been around for us to find out. So there you go. Maybe not the most interesting answer, but it's honest. All right, moving on. Chris Heathcote on Facebook, he asks a couple questions, and I'm going to let him get away with it just because he was somebody who asked if I was going to be doing one of these Q&A videos again right when I was getting ready to do it. I'm like, you know what? That is good timing, sir. So question number one is, 2021 could be the year that we get new music from tons of thrash metal bands. And he lists a whole bunch of bands. Is new music from any of these bands part of your most anticipated for 2021? So, yes. Out of the bands that he listed, here's the ones that I am excited to hear from. Exodus, Sacred Reich. He listed Power Mad. Sir, I would like you to put in the comments where you heard that Power Mad is doing new music, because I can't find information on that anywhere, and I will be super stoked to find out that they are. Mordred, of course. Dead Brain Cells, DBC. They apparently have been working on stuff, and I am really excited for that. Metallica, of course. Megadeth, of course. And Anthrax, of course. Those are all bands that I think could put out something amazing, and I'm going to be waiting. If all of those bands put out albums in 2021, it's going to be a hell of a year-end ranking for me. So, thanks, Chris. All right, so we just got a couple questions left. Try not to go too long with this episode. But first, okay, so I never know how to pronounce your name, dude. Gigi Noor on Facebook asks, if you can pick only one song to introduce someone who doesn't listen to rock or metal, what would it be? His choice is Photograph by Def Leppard. That's a really good one. In fact, that could be my choice, because that's kind of what got me into music that was rock and let me, well, I guess Van Halen. I think Panama by Van Halen, because that's literally the 1984 album was the album that started it off for me. Like, I heard that, I liked harder rock and roll music, and then off I went. But I think that you're right, that Photograph, it might be an easier, maybe Panama comes right after Photograph, because that's a great song, but it's melodic and it's poppy in ways, but it's still rock music. So that would be a really good Like, if somebody literally didn't know rock music, that is not a bad place to start. You just got to make sure you steer them, keep them going up the chain to some heavier shit, because I don't know, that's what I did. So I had two different questions about guilty pleasures. One from Sean Weschler on YouTube and Facebook, and then also Gigi Noor also asked about my guilty pleasures, meaning music that I enjoy but I wouldn't necessarily play around other people. And my stock response to that question is usually, I don't have any guilty pleasures, only pleasures. But the more that I thought about it, I think the two artists that come to mind that I thoroughly enjoy, that I probably would ask before I put them on, number one is Limp Bizkit, because I know people hate Limp Bizkit. I don't. I love them. I enjoy them. I listen to them a lot. Yes, it's dumb, but it is fun as fuck, and I love it. But I know people think that they're shit, and so that might be a group that I'd be like, anybody down for some Limp Bizkit? And then if you are, then cheers. And then the other one, I'm gonna pull from way out of left field for this one, the Spice Girls. Not even bullshitting you. I have the first Spice Girls album on vinyl. I would like to get the second one. I don't know what it is, because I listen to some pop music, not a lot of it. And there's a very small amount of it that makes me want to listen to it repeatedly or buy it on vinyl. For some reason, I don't know what it is about that group and the songs that they did back in the 90s, but it connected with me in some way, and they feel good. And I want to sing along, even though I sound awful singing along with the Spice Girls. I would be Harry Spice. That was good. If I don't have that, maybe there should be a sound effect there. Anyway, so there you go. There's my guilty pleasures. Everything else, I like what I like. I don't know. Last but not least, Crystal over on Instagram asks, "Why are you so handsome?" Well, I really don't think that I am. What I really am is lucky to have found a woman like you that would marry me and make me happy for the rest of my life. So for those of you who don't know, Crystal is my wife, the love of my life. And how could I not answer her question? Even though she knows the answer, I'm not handsome. She's just insane. I'm just kidding. Love you, babe. So I wanted to wrap things up on a nice note, because we're wrapping up 2020, and I feel good about 2021, and I hope you all do too. I'm going to be here doing this shit as usual throughout 2021, so stay tuned. Keep watching, keep liking and subscribing and sharing my shit, and go to Facebook, Old Head Bangers is the name of the group. Go to Instagram at oldhead.tx. Go to Twitter, Old Head Podcast. Nobody goes there, please go. And just keep in touch and interact, because that's what makes this fun. So I love all you guys. If I didn't get to your question, there's a reason for it. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Cheers, everyone. Hopefully you're staying warm. It's actually pretty cold right now, but I love this weather. Anyway, that's all I got for this edition of Old Head on the Porch. Thanks for watching. I will see you all again very soon.